Hi, I want to thank the Board of Education for allowing people to speak this evening. I'm speaking as an individual. I'm an educator for Lincoln Public Schools. I teach 8th grade U.S. history at SCO Middle School. My curriculum primarily focuses on America from 1600 to 1900. Over the last few months, I've grown concerned with the attacks on public school history teachers. Angry parents and privileged politicians continue to push a narrative that we are indoctrinating our students. Critical race theory, according to critics, is an attack on our country's core values and pits us against one another. As stated in a previous board meeting by Dr. Joel and the school board, critical race theory is not taught in Lincoln Public Schools. All social studies grade level curriculums can be found on the district's website. Critical race theory is a college level course that takes a race-based critical look at our country's past and how it relates to its laws today. White people concerned and angry that critical race theory is being taught in secondary schools will make a wonderful critical race theory lesson years from now. Critical race theory is not to be confused with the facts and evidence of the treatment of minorities in this country over the last 400 years. Africans were forced into ships in the 17th century and brought over to America via the Middle Passage. They were beaten, starved, raped, and forced into slavery by white men. They were chained in the bellies of ships with putrid air and very little sanitation. Slavery was a legal practice and institution in the Americas. The Founding Fathers argued about its morality and economic impact, but it survived for nearly 250 years. Through Reconstruction, the Jim Crow era, segregation, and the Civil Rights Movement, minorities, especially African Americans, were severely mistreated. These are facts. It is the truth. It is not a race theory. It's not something that indoctrinates anybody who learns it. Sadly, it is part of our country's complex history. According to David French of Time magazine, quote, "We should approach history with a sense of curiosity and security. You won't make me hate my home. You can, however, motivate me to preserve what is pristine and repair what is broken. You can make me proud of the beauty and sorry for the injustice," end quote. If knowledge is power and the reason many feel we must learn history is in order to not repeat it, then we must learn the truth. The facts aren't red or blue, and they shouldn't be used as a narrative from politicians or angry parents. When educating young people in history classes, we must provide the truth and background information, and then let students formulate their own opinions on our nation's history. Lessons revolve around inquiry questions where students must learn information and properly defend the way they view complex events or characters from our country's history. George Washington was an incredible military leader that guided our country to victory in the Revolutionary War and later became our first president. There's also clear evidence of him verbally and physically abusing his hundreds of slaves he had at his Mount Vernon home. Thomas Jefferson was said to care about the common man. He was a brilliant writer who composed the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson is looked at as an icon of American democracy. And in 1998, DNA evidence found Jefferson likely fathered 6 children with one of his hundreds of African slaves, Sally Hemings. Enslaved women had no right to consent as their masters owned their labor, bodies, and their children. Woodrow Wilson's diplomacy and leadership as president led the United States to victory in World War I. But he would later defend the South's suppression of black voters, saying they were being denied the vote not because their skin was dark, but because their minds were dark. He said, quote, "The dominance of an ignorant and inferior race was justly dreaded," end quote. Please. These are just a few examples of the complexity of our country's history. It's okay to view prominent American men and women as flawed heroes. But in order to fully understand the past and how to make the future better, we must educate our students with the truth. As American journalist Harry Smith said, quote, "It endangers no one to understand the sins of our past." As I learn these complexities and the horrible blemishes of our country's past as a white man, it has only helped me want to make this country a better place for my children and people of color. The guilt I feel because of the way others were treated by men of my same race has only inspired me to make our country a better place for all, not one where we are pitted against each other. As French from Time magazine puts it, quote, "History lessons shouldn't be designed to create patriots. They should be designed to educate citizens, secure in the knowledge that well-educated citizens are most apt to learn to love their nation well. Thank you.